My name is Ryan. My friend Kyle and I have taken our barroom conversations to the internet in the form of Michigan's most up-and-coming sports talk podcast. From baseball to Bigfoot, we cover it all. You're in for a treat because you have found the Turbo and 2K show. What is up, 2K crew? I am Turbo. Mr. 2K is across the bar from me, and we have a special guest in the house. But before we get into that, we are going to talk hoops. Of course, March Madness is upon us, and it's been one hell of a tournament so far. And I think, Kyle, you can agree with me that I think it's only going to get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got some of that on board. We also want to get a quick talk with some baseball because, I mean, opening day is like Thursday. Mm-hmm. So we do want to touch on that. So without further ado, we have a Mr. Christian Hutson in the house.
How's it going?
He is the head varsity baseball coach for the Marcellus Wildcats. And we wanted to bring him in here, pub the team a little bit, let our viewers know when they can go see the team if they want to go see the team, and just kind of get an outlook on what things that he's looking forward to in the season. So, Christian, you ready?
Yep.
All right. So, how long have you been coaching the Wildcats?
This is my fourth year doing baseball, head varsity baseball coach.
All right. And what are some things you're excited about this upcoming season?
Probably the most is just how raw we are. Kids willing to learn and put in work, and it's a lot different from what we had because we don't have a whole lot of bad habits to break this year.
That's a good thing.
It's just teaching them the right way, mechanically and mentally. Just really raw, really raw. That's
this is something that Kyle and I have talked about kind of at great lengths. Is a great team can overcome a group of talented individuals. So if that's what it sounds like you guys have a great slate to work with. So I'm sure you're stoked to get the season started.
Absolutely.
You guys have already started practice, right?
Yep.
Perfect. So, and with the raw slate, what are your goals for this season? Whether it's personally, any one of the players, or as a team as a whole?
Last year we had pretty high goals, and we all season we just struggled with the bat, struggled at the plate, and this year, just seeing the development of the guys in the off season and kids that came back. We only have one senior this year.
Oh wow!
We lost 7 seniors last year, so I thought maybe it'd be a little bit rough this year for us. But I think the kids that were with us last year really stepped up, and you've seen so much improvement, and just the way they're hitting the ball, driving the ball. We got one kid that he was a freshman last year. And, in the high school level, you don't see a whole lot of kids using the whole field.
That's true.
When they hit. And Gavin Etter can absolutely spray it in the whole field. And, we got him, Gunnar Holston, Trevor Wilson, Seth Lansdale. There are 4 captains, and they're going to be relied on heavily, very heavily. And they're accepting that role right now.
Well, that's good because the word on the street is the assistant coach is kind of shitty.
Figured it. Yeah. It's battling right now.
Easy now. But no, going back and kind of like what Christian touched on, talking about Gavin, talking about Seth, both of them freshmen last year, going to be sophomores this year. It was pretty neat to see how much improvement there was last year, and I'm excited to see when games start, see those two, and then some of these young kids taking over now. I'm ready to. The unfortunate thing is being in Michigan with the weather. Yeah. You're practicing baseball in a gym right now, and we're trying to do as much as we can inside. But it'll be exciting when we get outside, and I know the kids are ready to get outside and play too.
Oh yeah, because I'm probably with we all played varsity baseball, so we've all been through that. Mm-hmm. It's the spring fever, the itch. You just want to fucking get outside and get dirty.
Yep.
And hopefully you don't have a lot of kids on the team. Like a couple of them when I played that. Oh, coach, I forgot my baseball pants. All right. Well, you're going to be doing sliding drills and Jankos. Mm-hmm. So, and
chain wallets hanging out.
It's an honest to God true story. And any of the 98 baseball team can attest to that. So there was one individual that probably 3 times had to do sliding drills and Jankos.
It sounds somewhat like our team we had last year, and Christian would touch on this too. We had speaking of the 7 seniors that we lost, they all showed up every day with their, Wrangler jeans on and their work boots, and it was like, are you guys doing chores, or are we going to go do some baseball practice today? And
putting in work, coach, putting in work.
So yeah, talk about it's a total different atmosphere, I think, with this team. And this team, like Christian said, they're raw, but that's exciting. That team we had last year, they were older. I think they thought that they were better than what they really were. And with this team, they're willing to put in the work, and I think it's going to be fun to watch them over the next couple of years.
Don't get me wrong, last year's team was very, very talented, but once we went into a slump, it took forever to get out of that slump. I don't know if we ever did. I mean, I think the last couple games of the year, we finally started, seeing our full potential, and then we just ran into a better team in Decatur. And
goddamn Decatur.
Yeah, they're going to be loaded again this year, but
they always are.
Yeah.
They always are. Hell, even when I was in school, they were.
Oh yeah,
I would just reload.
It's, in my opinion, maybe I'm a little biased because I played there, but it's the best small town program in the state of Michigan for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was playing, it was them and Goebbels.
Yeah.
And then we were probably a close third.
Yeah.
But then again, you're going back into an SAC that no longer exists anymore.
Well, it does, but nobody's in it
for
the whole time.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad because I remember vividly, I probably hit more home runs in Fenville than I did combined in any other. Yeah,
420-foot center field fence.
Well, I didn't fuck around with center.
No. Like I said, not a lot of high schoolers do.
No. But for power anyway. I mean, I would live in the right center gap if he gave it to me.
Well, that's where our power is, right center field, as a right-handed hitter.
Yeah, and that's kind of where. I know we're going completely off topic, but when starting to get the cabin fever and stuff, and slow pitch softball's coming, and it can be the same way there too, where dudes are just all pull happy.
Yep, absolutely.
And especially with 11 fielders instead of. You have the one extra outfielder. They always shift. They always do this. I'm like, you give me that right center hole, I'm going to hit it all the time. I mean,
toot my own horn a little bit, but Kyle can attest to this. When I hung up my spikes about 2 years ago in slow pitch, but I could put them out right field line, left field line, anywhere. And like you said, you don't see a whole lot of guys doing that.
No,
you do not see a whole lot of guys doing that.
Especially, I mean, once you get up in the upper levels, it's different. But kind of, and you even played a lot more serious than what I have, and
probably shout out to DNR,
big old Mookie.
Yep.
But yeah, it's the same feeling. I mean, you get the same adrenaline rush, stepping on the field. At least I do. Then. Even if it was softball or baseball.
Well, you get a beer in hand too, so that enhances it.
Yeah. I mean, that usually always does. However, on my team, there's not many of them that drink, which is weird.
That was the one thing about DNR. We didn't drink a whole lot. We came to play and we got,
And it showed.
Yeah.
Legit. Except for Jake Kling every now and then.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was kind of a fill-in. Kling's the man, though. Klinger's the man.
Then about 3/4 of the team down in the alleyway smoking some dope in between games.
Yeah, that was definitely not a secret. Well, Mr. Hutson, we'll kind of wrap it up with this, or unless there's anything else you want to add. When's your guys' first game? When's the important dates? And is there a schedule around that our listeners can go and check out a game or two if they want?
Yeah, our first game is right after spring break on the 10th. We open up with the Wildcat, so right out of the gate we're coming out, with some big dogs.
And that's a home game?
It is a home game. 4:30 start. And then we have the rest of that week off. That is a Wednesday, and we come back that Monday with Decatur. And Decatur, that is, if you want to come out and see good baseball, granted it's the beginning of the season, so teams might look a little bit rough than what they would at the end, but they're loaded, and to me, I think it's great that we're playing them early on in the season.
It's a good litmus test.
Yeah, it's that, and maybe we can get away with a few more things. But granted, I mean, we finished the season over there too. But like I said, we got 14 captains right now that are going to be relied on heavily. But they're all legit. They're good. They've been in the weight room, and it shows. You could see so much difference from last year to this year.
That's good.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a testament not only to the kids but to you guys as a staff as well.
Absolutely.
And if I was in your shoes, I would be I'd be stoked with a raw slate, kind of what you guys touched on, but also the opportunity to work with these kids for multiple years. So, and that's something probably rewarding to both you guys is to see their progress.
We got one senior and not a whole lot of juniors, so this team we have this year is going to be the team for the next 2-3 years. 2 years, just got to plug some pieces in.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like another few games that are on our schedule. We got Cass, who's always they got a kid by the name of Dylan Green over there that's just a flat out stud.
He was the quarterback for the football team.
Yeah,
right?
Went to state wrestling. He is a flat out stud. We go over to LMC, they're always legit. Then we, at the end of the year, if we qualify, our conference Southwest 10 is doing a tournament for the top 6 teams.
Oh, very
over
cool.
in Decatur. Yep, starts at 8:30 in the morning. Decatur's got lights on the field, so you can go all night if you
And that's something completely different than districts.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I don't have the date for districts yet, but it's a fairly tough district. Got Lawrence, Decatur, us. I can't remember the 4th team in there, but it's a pretty tough district. But baseball's a sport where anybody, if you have a good day, if your pitcher's on, and you can slow some teams up.
You never know what can happen.
You could pull things out. If you want to look at our schedule, the Marcellus Athletics Facebook page, I think it's called like Big Team Schedules. You'll see it on there. It'll be right there. And our softball team's going to be great this year too. McKenna Terrell's doing a great job, and they're looking pretty dang good right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're looking pretty dang good.
And I'm sure that once we pretty much probably by the time that this hits the air, you'll probably post that schedule on the Facebook page.
Absolutely.
Right? Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Christian, unless there's anything else that you want to add, I want to thank you. And for those that don't know, Christian will be filling in for Kyle every now and again. And even when we want to, I have a feeling we got a very tame version of Christian today. So once he gets a little bit more comfortable.
I went out last night.
But he will be a more kind of a staple to the show. So I want to thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your time. And, I'll be out there watching. And hopefully we can get some more folks out there, our listeners watching.
Absolutely.
And, best of luck this season. And, we'll catch you later, bud.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right. Well, we want to send a big thank you and welcome, I guess, to Christian. That was really cool for him to stop by, and I also wanted to get him in here to kind of get him acclimated, introduce him to you guys, and as well as that's kind of one of the things we want to do here is not only talk big sports, but bring in some high school folks and kind of give them some pub and run and some appreciation for all their hard work. So, with that being said, Mr. 2Ks, let's jump into our wheelhouse, baseball, and granted, it's kind of hard to believe that Thursday's opening day.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit that fucking snuck up on me real quick.
Mm-hmm. It's weird with it being a Thursday. I'm used to watching Tigers opening day Monday.
Yeah.
So having to wait until Thursday is kind of a teaser.
Well, then they had the whole bullshit of the Mariners and the A's.
Yeah.
Quote unquote officially starting this season last week.
Mm.
Well, I shouldn't call it bullshit because what they did for Ichiro was really, really cool. And he's a natural talent. Probably we won't see a hitter like that again for quite a while.
No. And you think if he would have played a full career here,
oh yeah,
he would have been competing for Pete Rose's record, who that I think probably will never be touched. I don't think that record will ever be beat.
And I want to say that when he passed 3,000 hits, if you would have combined his hits in the major leagues and hits in Japan, he would have been like 500 more hits than Pete Rose.
Yes.
I'm just spitballing here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was kind of the case. But the big news on deck is if you're Bryce Harper, you were like, all right, man, the highest paid man in baseball for like 4 days. And if you guys have been living under a rock, Mike Trout signed a 12-year extension with the Angels for a cool $430 million. And yeah, it's the richest contract in sports history, and that's not just baseball, that's any sport, period. And for me, half of me is kind of disappointed that he did it, but the other half is, and the GM was quoted, and I'm going to misquote it, but he kind of touched on the fact that, you know, he grew up in a generation where people were kind of idolized and loved, like Cal Ripken Jr. for playing his whole career in one spot, and he wanted to give Mike Trout that opportunity. So kudos for the Angels organization, and there's going to be a lot of folks that say, well, the Angels are just wasting his career and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I would disagree. When you have, I mean, granted, they've made some horrific contract signings, but this one to me was a no doubt.
Oh, no.
No doubt.
Trout deserves every penny of this. I mean, he is hands down, I've talked about this many times, he's hands down the best player in the game. I mean, and if you're going to pay that kind of money to Bryce Harper and the kind of money that Machado got this offseason, Trout deserves every bit of what he got. And
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if any owner in Major League Baseball would have given him this money,
absolutely,
the same exact contract,
if he
at least this contract,
if Mike Trout finished out his contract there and then hit the open market, we would have been looking at probably $500 million.
Oh, easy,
at least. So, kudos to the Angels for getting it done, and not allowing him to hit the open market and yes, see that kind of money, because I think they got him on a little bit of a discount. I know it's hard to say that when you're looking at that kind of money, but that speaks for the type of player that he is, and yeah.
And to me too, he's more proven.
Oh yeah.
Than Machado and Bryce. I mean, he's been around a lot longer. He's put up more consistent numbers than both of them, and doing it in a, believe it or not, even though he's in LA, it's not a baseball city. Mm-hmm. I mean it, and when I was doing some research for the show, they said that they really haven't had a big star like this since Vlad Guerrero, which is, I'm like, oh, okay, I wouldn't even put him in that level, but to each their own, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there's really not a whole lot more we can kind of beat into you guys about this. But some of the other things we did want to mention is and maybe this is the way to kind of combat that free agency thing that both Machado and Harper struggled with, is getting re-signing, is all these extensions. Paul Goldschmidt, Chris Sale, just saw yesterday, Justin Verlander, they all signed extensions with their teams. So,
well, I think teams are jumping on this, where we can extend the contract now and not wait for a year or 2 years, because the money's only going to keep getting higher as we go. So if we get this deal done now, we're going to be paying Mike Trout $400 million now instead of 2 years from now. We're trying to get him for over five. So I mean, it's just the way that all sports are going. I mean, we've seen it in the NFL, the way these contracts are just getting higher every year. Baseball's contracts are getting higher every year. It's and so no, I think it's going to be something we'll be talking about every offseason, where teams are just doing taking the extension route instead of waiting and finding guys in the open market.
And one of the things about the three players we mentioned, Goldschmidt, Sale, and Verlander, is all of the teams that they're currently on had to give up a boatload of prospects to get each one of them. So it would behoove you to kind of ensure your investment that way. It is to sign him to an extension. So kudos to that. And then of course the big one that's kind of looming is Mookie Betts, and even though my heart is with him, he's one of my favorite players. Does he deserve a contract bigger than Trout's? No. As big as Bryce Harper's, yeah, I'll give him that one. But only time will tell. And I think I'm almost positive. I think our listeners are ready for some March Madness talk. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I just wanted to start this segment out with I want to give a big shout out and thank you to all the people that hopped on the tournament challenge. And it looks like we have, I want to say 18. Yeah, oh, it just says 15 plus, so fuck me. And I do remember the name or the password to get in this is Turbo Wins. And if you guys look, I'm number 1. So yes, I do win. But I gotta give a big shout out to your wife. It's Chelsea Kaler.
Yeah.
She must be getting some NCAA knowledge by injection.
And one of the things that she made sure before I left to come up here today that she wanted me to mention that I did not help her with anything, and I didn't. But she's like, I know everybody's gonna think that you helped me with everything. No, I did not talk to her about any of it. She made all these picks by herself, and yeah, she's in a pretty good spot right now. So
well, the one thing I know about both of you two is you're both competitive as fuck. So there would be the only time that you would probably try to quote unquote help her is to lead her down the road of demise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you know, as a competitor, you want to bury her.
No,
let's be perfectly honest.
And she has made sure to remind me all weekend long that she's ahead of me right now. Which I'm not out of it by any means.
Oh, no,
I mean, I'm only 30 points back.
Yeah, which is honestly first round. That's 3 picks.
Yeah.
3 picks. But yeah, let's give a shout out to the leaderboard. Again, me, number 1. Chelsea, number 2. Mr. Jeremy Warren is tied with Chelsea for 2. Your dad, Troy, is right behind him. And you are bringing up the top 5.
It is nice to see all those Kalers there in the top 5. We got 3 Kalers in there, so represent.
It's like our fucking fantasy football leagues. Jesus Christ. I think you won first, Chelsea won, second, and your dad won second or third.
Yeah.
Fuck. But yeah, there are some pretty. I mean, and this thing is pretty fluid, so I check it probably after each game's done. But some movers and shakers in there. Mr. Cody, Jeremy Warren has had a bunch of them kind of locked down in there, and we do want to give a shout out because Darcy, I'm almost positive you are the stat queen, so big shout out to you as well. Even though your bracket isn't doing probably as hot as you like, but thanks for joining in. We really do appreciate it.
I wonder how scared Cody was today when Tennessee was in overtime with Iowa. Man, I kind of slipped off and took a nap there, and Tennessee was ahead by 14, 15 points. Mm-hmm. I wake up and they're in overtime. I'm like, wow, what happened here?
And they're towards the end of regulation. If you didn't see it, there's a very, very controversial. I'm sure if you haven't seen it, it'll be something on Sports Center that they'll go into. I want to say that the Iowa player was shooting a 3-pointer. There's a very sketchy call where you end up getting 3 free throws, which led to the going into overtime. So, but yeah, with that being said, again, thanks 2K crew for showing up and showing out. I love it. But let's get into, and I know we're kind of behind the times on this one, but I think there was some stir and some uproar in the 2K crew on the Facebook page about, which you're going to get this every year. Someone got robbed with seeding. With this one too, I mean, we're talking in particular with Michigan State being the number 1-2 seed, playing in the overall number 1 bracket. It is kind of bunk.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I said it last weekend. Michigan State deserved to be a 1 seed.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially
anybody that wants to argue that with me, let's argue it. I mean,
right.
How can you argue against they won the Big Ten outright and they won the conference tournament? And of all the conferences in the March Madness, the Big Ten has the most teams in there. Had the most teams in there with 8. Yeah. So you're saying right there that the Big Ten is
the deepest
conference in college basketball.
Sure.
How do they not get a 1 seed? And I'm tired of it because it happens about every year. It's always so ACC biased. They always take care of the ACC teams, and I'm not saying that maybe Michigan State should have been in over one of those 3-1, but they should have been in over Gonzaga.
I 100% agree with you.
Lose it to St. Mary's, who that's about the only competition they played all year, other than they did beat Duke, but it was back in the Maui Invitational, where I'm sorry, but it's just the season hasn't really started then.
No, but then again, that I was glad that they did beat them, because that kind of led the whole. Oh well, these 4 freshmen would have beat Michigan's 4 freshmen, or the Fab Five, and I'm pretty sure I've said it before. There was one of my buddies was like, "Yo, that Michigan team couldn't even beat the Duke team that year." So just shut up. But no, but if you kind of take the other side of the argument is, and I know there are some Duke fans on here. Shout out to the Hackenbergs. But if you're Duke, you got to be pissed. Like you're putting the top number 2 seed in my bracket?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, so as much as it infuriates Michigan State fans, which it should, if you're a Duke fan, you have to equally be as upset.
Mm-hmm.
They were the number 1 overall seed for a reason, and you would think they would get the lowest number 2 seed.
And I hope we get that game so bad. I hope that's Duke, Michigan State.
That would be a hell of a game.
I mean, it's unfortunately going to be Elite 8 game, but man, that should be a national championship atmosphere, because in my opinion, those might be the 2 best teams in college basketball. So
they're the 2 hottest, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, both of them. I mean, Michigan State's been tested a little more. However, for those of you that follow me on Facebook, Friday night when Duke's playing, it's about 5 minutes in, I made just a snarky ass post that, and I made it, and it kind of went through the first half.
Yeah,
Duke. And if you don't follow me, I put just a quick Duke's on upset alert, and I had probably 4 or 5 people message me going, "Bro, I'm not watching the game. What's going on? What's going on?" I was like, it's a joke, and the more I watched, I'm like, holy shit. And then someone poked the bear. Zion showed up.
Well, once Duke realized that they're not a jump shot team, and started breaking down things in the defense and getting to the hole, and then it just turned into a bloodbath. But there for a half of basketball, Duke tried to shoot him out of the gym, and they're not going to win a lot of ball games when they try doing that. So.
And you know what, you kind of see that, and and it happens every year. I don't care what anyone says. Number 1 seeded teams, when they play a 16 like that, they don't scout them. So it's one of those things, kind of 9 times out of 10. I mean, granted, you take it's probably more than 9 times out of 10. You take Virginia last year, you take them out of the equation, because they're the ones that did lose. They were the number 1 overall seed. And lost to a 16. It was the first time it ever happened. But for the vast majority, it's either a complete blowout from just out the gate, or it kind of goes the way that the Duke game went. Yeah. And eventually, and I say this in football all the time, you get a powerhouse team that, especially in the beginning of the season, schedules a cupcake. 9 times out of 10, the better athletes come through.
Oh, yeah.
And especially with the team aspect of both sports, respectively, a bigger body's going to out just manhandle you, like in football, for instance. And that's kind of what it was. And Coach K, even after the game, spoke on it. He's like, we have all these freshmen that have never been here. They were nervous as hell. We got them in the locker room, calmed them down, and then we played Duke basketball, and you saw what it was.
Yeah.
And, we've kind of beaten this horse kind of to death with Coach Izzo and the injuries. And I don't think you can give Cassius Winston enough credit. That kid is playing out of his mind, and he pretty much has his whole career there. But he's putting everything together at the right time. He's the spark plug of that team. And you can tell once he's had enough and said, guys, just give me the fucking ball. Let me do this. And so that if that is the Elite 8 matchup, that is going to be fantastic.
Yes,
that will be fantastic. And now that we've kind of broken the Duke seal, they play here at 5:15 today. And, of course, everyone's talking about the Zion-Taco matchup.
Yes. And it's intriguing to me. The tallest guy in college basketball, 7'6".
Against a 6'7".
Which I believe that he would be the tallest guy in the NBA. And yeah.
I want to say that when they were doing an interview with him, he's one of the top 20 tallest players, or one of the top 20 or 25 tallest people in the world. Which I'm not sure how they actually get those figures.
Yeah, how they figure that out.
Do they do a just go around, knock on the door? Yo, got any 7-footers in here? No? All right, cool. Going to the next one. But no, for as tall as he is, he's very mobile.
Yeah.
And he's not a beanpole by any means. So I think ultimately what's going to happen is Zion is way more athletic. It'll take a few trips for him to figure out, because that's not something that you can practice against. You just can't get a 7'6" guy. You know, it's not like a point guard or something where you can have someone kind of mimic that. You can't teach height.
Yeah, no. And I mean, you can't take away that Duke has. They have 4 other guys on the floor that are more athletic, better basketball players. But I mean, it is intriguing to talk about. To talk about the 7'6" and then Zion, but I think in the end it's going to be pretty similar to the first round for Duke. I think they're going to end up pulling away with this one pretty easy.
You can't argue that. However, if there would be a chink in the armor, it would be something unknown like this. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, something you can't practice against, something you can't prep for. It's just sink or swim. You know, like your dad throwing you in the pool when you're young. Mm-hmm. You know, so it will be interesting. But yeah, I think ultimately in getting back to your point that Duke is not a perimeter shooting team, and they have a lot more dudes to throw at Taco to foul him, beat him up. Mm-hmm. And I've only caught a handful of their games, because I mean, they're not I don't follow UCF basketball that often, but we were actually here watching one of their games, and you turned around and you're like, holy shit, that guy's tall.
Yeah, I remember that a couple weeks ago.
So I was looking, oh my God, he's like, everyone's coming up to his shoulder. So then they had a little piece on him on ESPN a couple days later. Like, oh shit, this guy really is tall. But yeah, I mean, so now that we've kind of got that out of the way, you know, we've scratched the itch, which is the Michigan State fiasco, let's call it. You know, we've already opened the whole Duke and Zion talk, but let's kind of do a little tournament recap so far. And the one thing that jumped out Thursday was, of course, our favorite. The Turbo and 2Ks informed you about this dude a long time ago, which is Mr. Ja Morant. If you watch that game that you saw,
yeah,
I mean, in my eyes, he answered the questions about can he play against big time talent, even though his conference is kind of whack. I think he answered. In my opinion, right now, he's the number 2 pick.
I agree with you.
Number 2 pick,
and maybe, I mean, I've said it time and time again. I would be too scared to pass on Zion in the draft because of what he can be. But as far as game translating to the pros right away, Ja Morant might be the best.
Yeah, I mean, he in my mind has overtaken RJ Barrett as the number 2, and like you said, if it's all going to be hinged on who gets that number 1 pick, and do they go for need? Or do they go for what they consider the slam dunk?
Yeah.
So that's kind of... But for me, that kid was... And then I think he got a little too much hype, because there was a lot of folks that rode that Murray State train and had him beaten. They played Florida State last night?
Yeah.
And Florida State was just too much.
Florida State's they're a tough matchup. They're so big, and that, you know, that Michigan being in the same region as them, and me being a Michigan fan, Florida State scares me if we end up having to play against them. which I believe we play the winner of Buffalo, Texas Tech. But then if we were to win that, good chance to be Florida State.
Yeah.
And Florida State's size scares me. I mean, even going back last year in the tournament, Michigan was the better team last year, playing better at the time in the tournament. But they had some struggles that night with Florida State and the size and their offensive rebounding.
Yeah, and even I'm pulling it up right now because taking nothing away from Morant, he threw down 28 points.
Still scored 28. And and like I think last night he ended up with like 4 or 5 assists to where he had 15 in the first round. The difference is, I mean, he probably had 9 or 10 assists in the first round off of 3-point shots because his teammates were just knocking down shots.
Yeah.
That's last night they weren't knocking down shots. So, you're not going to he didn't get those, big assist numbers because they just weren't hot like they were in the first round.
And it comes back to, I mean, he probably could have scored 40 and they still probably would have lost.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, yeah, they ran into a buzzsaw that is Florida State, and which, they were pretty much picked to give Duke a run in the ACC tournament, and Duke made pretty short work of that. But so I mean, they were they're really, really legit is kind of what we're trying to drive home. And to be honest with you, everything went almost according to chalk. Mm-hmm. And don't want to toot my own horn, but I was 15-1. And then we turn the page to Friday, and that's kind of when shit just got crazy. Mm-hmm. And the upsets that I found were UC Irvine over Kansas State. I did not pick that. Oregon over Wisconsin. Did not pick that. Liberty over Mississippi State. Didn't pick that either. And I'm pretty sure, because I watched that game, that was Liberty's first NCAA tournament win.
Yeah. I did pick that one.
Oh. And so kudos to the Liberty program. Kudos to 2Ks for picking that. And then the one that kind of, I think, might be the one that hurt me the most was Ohio State over Iowa State.
Yeah, I know Big Ten had 8 teams in the tournament, and I had 7 of them winning in the first round. The only team I had losing in the first round was Ohio State. Yeah. And
I'm pretty sure my bracket was the same way, and Wisconsin losing. Mm-hmm. I had picked Wisconsin.
Yep.
And so yeah, that was kind of crazy. And that I want to say last night or this morning that and of course this might have changed because there's games going on as we speak. We're watching North Carolina, Wisconsin, or Washington. I can't read. And North Carolina's up 39-31. And I want to say there's only 1 or 2 perfect brackets left. I think that's the message I got from the Tournament Central app. Out of 17.5 million. So if you're feeling down and out, there was 17.5 million other people that were just like you. So just gotta keep that in mind. And also for everyone that got in on the tournament challenge that we did, there is a Sweet 16 a Sweet 16 game you can play, and I want to say the winner gets like $15,000. So if you think your bracket's out of it, or even not, let's try to go win $15,000.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that everyone knew that as well. But yeah, and then last night, I'm pretty sure Michigan State was tired of getting beat. So they went out, and I glanced over at the game and they're up by 20. I'm like, yep, okay. Yep. Okay, and then I had a work function last night, and so I didn't get to watch a whole lot. I did watch pretty much the entire Michigan game, and that was another one towards the beginning, towards the middle, even probably 3/4 of the way through. It was kind of tight. Mm-hmm. Probably a little tighter than they had liked, but they ended up pulling away. But yeah, Michigan State was like, nope, fuck this. Not for a third time. Nope. And one of the things, I guess you could call it an upset. I think it was an 8-9 matchup or something. Auburn over Kansas. And I chose Auburn basically because of their tournament, the SEC tournament run that they did. and Coach Pearl's got them boys clicking on all cylinders. And kind of on the flip side, Kansas is, they lost a lot of players to the draft, and they haven't been the normal Kansas that we've seen. So that's kind of the way I took it. Other than that,
I'll tell you, a team that impressed me last night, and I didn't get to watch a lot of it, but I was just kind of watching chunks of it, was Purdue. I mean,
Purdue's looking very strong.
They just did work on Villanova, and another Big Ten team. I always like to give love to the Big Ten. But yeah, they just made Villanova look silly out there. And I mean, that's defending champions. So
they are defending champions. You're right. You can't argue that fact at all. But they lost 4 of their starting 5 to the NBA draft. So for them to, I mean, not everyone can reload like Coach K does. But yeah, I want to say that they surprised a lot of people, but probably for folks that really didn't know what was going on, probably disappointed a lot of people with the season they had, even though, I mean, what were they, a 6 seed, something like that?
Yep.
And so for losing that amount of players and still be a 6 seed, I mean, that's a hell of a team and a hell of a coach. So, but yeah, Purdue just kind of, we're just going to throw this out.
Yeah. And when Carson Edwards plays like he did last night, they're a tough team to beat.
Yeah, he was he finished second to Winston for Big Ten Player of the Year, right? Yep. Yeah, so they've been kind of the under the radar again. Getting back to our past episodes and how deep the Big Ten is. You look on paper and they're like, oh, they lost to this team, really. But I think all the Big Ten lost games that they probably shouldn't have. But that just goes to show you how
you had
deep.
You had 8 teams in the tournament. I mean, there's not very many nights off in that conference, if any.
No, and we've kind of pounded that into your head as well. So, and today, like I said, I just got back from a work function, so I'm not completely up on it, but I'm sure Cody Braisman's little butthole was puckering when Tennessee went into overtime with Iowa. Again, another Big Ten school. So that ended up, of course, Tennessee on top, but it did take to overtime, so they were tested. And I'm not going to go out on the limb and say that they were overrated most of the year, but they kind of were. And I think as the season progressed, you kind of saw the flaws, the holes, and it, especially with video and everything that the coaches and players watch, it was just a matter of time. The only thing that probably saved them was how the age of the team. If they were a young team, they probably wouldn't be able to hold everything together as long as they did. So kudos to them. Big win. I mean, it's one of those games you should have won, but those feisty Big Ten teams.
Yep.
Those feisty Big Ten teams. And let's see. I think we about covered everything, but we still have about 20 minutes. So you're gonna get some off the cuff, off the dome stuff. So you're in for a treat. You are in for a treat. So yeah, we got some time, Kyle. So let's switch.
What kind of traffic we have on the page this week?
Oh yes, it's I tell you what, we've had more traffic this last week on our Facebook page than I think we ever have, and I want to give a big shout out to a bunch of guys. Just to kind of off the dome again, Cody, keep on commenting even though we don't agree with you all the time or 90% of the time, but that's kind of what it's there for. Kyle Thornburg's another one. He actually, I want to say Wednesday or Thursday, probably Thursday, he listened to us on the way to work instead of listening to Fox Sports. And so he gave us some really kind words. So yeah. Kyler, we definitely appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And we hope that we can continue to entertain you on your way to work. And I'm going to be the first one to apologize. We're probably not going to be getting the fantasy baseball thing off the ground just because, like I said, it's shit. It popped up real quick. I'm still not giving up hope yet, but we do, in if you guys hear this and you want to get in last minute style, send an email, turboand2ks@gmail.com, and we will get you added, because I think we have like 5 or 6 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not looking too bright right now, but there's always some stragglers that roll in. So keep those up. And like I said, if you guys do want to join, turboand2ks@gmail.com, hit me up. And because I will need your email address to add you. So if you hit me up, I will have your email. And another little tidbit that I shared to the page today, it was 18 years ago today that Randy Johnson made a bird explode. And what was really kind of cool, I do remember watching Sports Science try to recreate that. Couldn't do it. So that just kind of goes to show you that how unique that actually was. And Christian also, which he's part of the show, he should pub everything that we put on there. And let's see here, when the last episode went crazy, one Justin J. Stone Ware, he says Winston was tired of beating Michigan. And he also says, who's the guy that doesn't sound like a long-time listener, first-time caller? And then big shout out to Denny Small. He said great show. Our friend Kurt Hanneberg, I apologize. Probably the only Browns fan that I know, and he's getting as much love dessert right now because between him and Lions fans, I'm not really sure who gets tormented the most.
Yeah, the thing, mad respect for Kurt though, because he has always been diehard Cleveland fan. I mean, through all the bad years, never wavered, never gave up.
And he's definitely not a bandwagon fair weather fan. That is for sure.
No. You got to respect that.
Yeah, stick by your guns. And so yeah, that and like I said, guys, the more you comment, the more because we'll just sit up here and talk with no real direction, and that's probably not very fun for you guys. And so if there's something you guys do want us to touch on, I know last time we said that one of our Jacob Berg came up with a question. I had no idea what the fuck he was talking about.
Uh-huh.
But we tried. And there's a lot of Christian Hutson on here, so I do appreciate that. And again, thank you everyone for getting in on the bracket challenge. I know there's no money involved, but this is for bragging rights. This is ego. This is king dingaling, if you will.
Yeah.
And ladies, if one of you ladies win, you can be king dingaling as well. So that's awesome. I love it. And actually, Kyle, since we do have a little time, there is something I wanted to bring up. We had talked about, or probably our first couple episodes, about a Patreon page, and it is up and running now. I do have some content on it, and for those of you that don't know what Patreon is, it is a kind of like a members only. And Patreon users, or if you go on Patreon, make your account, you can follow different content creators. And the time that we live in right now is probably one of the coolest times, because there are so many, the devices to make content like you're listening to right now, or even video. Hell, everyone's got a 4K video camera in their pocket now. So there goes one right now. So there's more access to that. There's more people doing that. The artistic side of everything. Believe me, I'm not calling what we do fucking art by any means. But it's a very unique time, because even going back 10 years, 15 years, there were some people doing it, but it took a lot of money to get it started. You know, you were looking at a lot of money, equipment-wise, advertising-wise, and just getting your name out there, where with social media today, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can grab a mic and make a podcast like we're doing. So, but one of the things that Patreon allows content creators to do is to provide extra content, even more access to the creators, to certain things. it does charge a monthly fee if you do select to follow us. You don't have to. You don't have to at all. It's just one more avenue for us to throw out there to give you more access, give you more limited edition or limited things that most other people wouldn't have the chance to do. For instance, let me go ahead. I don't have it on this phone, but there's a $5, $10, and $25 tier. And every Patreon, anyone that signs up, no matter what tier they do, they're going to get access to a Patreon-only group on Facebook. And it's a place for all of us to shoot the shit, get show ideas. You guys will probably get the link to the podcast a day early. And once we do get things going and we do a live stream on Facebook, you guys will be notified first. So there's a lot of cool things that can happen in that group. And it's our group. So whatever direction we want to go with it, cool. And the $10 tier will also, like, when we get some merchandise going, you guys all the Patreons, but the $25 and the $10 ones will get first dibs on when the merchandise goes live. And then the $25 tier will have everything that the other ones do, but they'll have first dibs on getting in our fantasy leagues. So it's just a way to help cover costs, and also for you, the listener, to kind of give us a little pat on the back and a thank you. And there is absolutely no pressure to join this. It's just something we want to offer to you guys as one more option to get to know us, get a little bit more personal. And like I said too, you are giving a monthly fee, but however, we'll make it worth your while. And if listening to this is really, really something that you like to do, I would urge you. There's not a lot on there right now, just because, like I said, we just got it started. It's the page is Patreon, patreon.com/Turbo and 2Ks, and I will put that up on the Facebook page so you guys can just click away instead of typing it in. But yeah, that's I worked this week on it, and I was kind of hesitant to even start it, but I figured, what the hell. I mean, if, like, right now there's my show notes from a couple episodes, and like I said too, we're just getting this started, we're just getting it launched, so there's not a whole lot of stuff on there. And what I really think would be cool is to get, like I said, even if you do the $5 one, the access to the group is probably the biggest, coolest thing, because I've been following a lot of YouTubers on Patreon. There's 3 of them that I do regularly, and for some of the stuff that they do, I mean, it's pretty dope. I mean, and this is going to sound way kind of like fanboy, but you watch these people on YouTube and you kind of forget that they're normal people. And when you get in these groups, you actually get to see how normal they are. One of them is I do a bunch of camera reviews and stuff like that, and he seems very, very techy, when in actuality, the dude is probably one of the clumsiest people I've ever seen. So, but yeah, that's just one more avenue. And like I said, there's absolutely no pressure to get on this. But if you do want to do it, we'll provide you with some extra cool shit to make sure that it's money well spent. And yeah, we'll give you a shout out on the show as well. So yes, like I said, now we've got that. We've got our Facebook page. We are on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher. Everything gets uploaded to our YouTube account. So go ahead and give all of that a like, click. And if you have any other questions, you want to jump in on the fantasy baseball thing, you can always email us at turbo12ks@gmail.com. So, what are your thoughts on that, Mr. 2Ks?
Oh, it's very exciting. Very exciting. I mean, when we've been talking about this for 2 years before we ever started this, and we don't have a background in any of this stuff. I mean,
no, as you can tell with our first 5 episodes.
Yeah. And I mean, it took 6 weeks just to be able to hear me. But No, so it's exciting. Hopefully we get some people that enjoy listening to us. Hey.
And I'll be the first one to admit I have not had anyone flag me down and be like, "You fucking suck."
No, me neither. And I've actually had some people, call me out at the bar and talk to me and say, "Hey, I enjoy listening to you guys," and it means a lot. I mean, we do this as a hobby. I mean, it's fun for us. We're gonna do this regardless. I mean, but yeah, to know that people are listening and Kyler talking about listening to it on his way to work. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much of a compliment it is when you say that you gave up listening to Skip and Shannon, but hey, I'll take it.
When he told me what he switched from, I'm like, bro, Skip and Shannon. Oh my God, one guy sounds like a horse and the other one never stops talking. But yeah, so it. And yeah, I've had a lot of people, like I mentioned a few weeks ago, that they downloaded Spotify just so they can listen to the show, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, speaking of downloads, speaking of listens, I want to say it was Friday we got our 200th download.
Nice.
So that is pretty awesome. And like, what's really neat is that the first episode still keeps growing. Mm-hmm. So even though it sounded like garbage, I'm sure, but it's kind of a testament to where people are not only just just listening to one episode, the new one. If they're just finding the podcast, they're also going back and listening to everything else, which is really, really cool. Especially in a podcast where it's not, a lot of this is time sensitive. So a lot of the stuff that we talked about was, it's probably kind of old by now, but keep doing it. We love it. We love we love all of the Facebook traffic for sure. And I love when I get the alerts that, we had a new like and someone commented and
I mean, we kind of started this at a slow time, really. I mean, now we got March Madness that we're talking about, but at the time when we started this, it was still in the middle of the basketball season. Yep. And we're not, either one of us are big time NBA guys. The NFL season was basically wrapped up. I think our first week was just right after the Super Bowl. Yep. And so NFL season was over, and baseball, spring training was just kicking off when we started. So I think it's only going to get better, and we're going to get more exciting stuff to listen to that people are going to want to tune into. So I look forward to that.
Me too. And having Christian on today was, that was one of our major goals, was to bring in local high school coaches and let them pretty much talk about their team. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that most folks are, when they're into something like that, they're, your heart and soul is 100% behind it. So to actually get them in here and talk about themselves probably isn't going to be that hard, but it is something that we wanted, that was one of the reasons why we started this, not only to shoot the shit and drink some beers and, let you guys listen to our tomfoolery, if you will. But yeah, we are forever grateful. And so yeah, with Christian, we will have some more coaches lined up. So
yeah, and plus I think our plan is having Christian in here next week, filling in for me. That's the plan as of right now, because I will not be here next week because I will be in Florida enjoying some sunshine, drinking some beer, hanging around a pool, and
fuck you.
Yeah, just chilling out. So
and there are some there are a couple other folks that are heading to Florida as well, and they're saying that it's going to look like rain. So
well, you know what? I still won't be at work, and I'll still be drinking beer. I can drink beer in the rain just fine. So no, I'm looking forward to it. Definitely a much needed vacation.
Oh, I'm sure. Now, one of the questions I did want to ask you is, you guys are driving to Florida, right?
Yes.
Now, are you going to leave one of the kids in like Missouri? Because I got to give you major props. I don't think I could do it. I would go absolutely nuts.
You know what? This will be the third year that we've done this, and they're actually the best. Like, it's normally Chell and I that are losing our minds on each other driving, because she thinks I drive like a maniac, and I think she drives too slow. And the kids, they just are in the backseat sleeping, or you put a movie on or something, and it's like they're just zoned on the movie the whole time. So the kids are honestly
the easiest part.
Yeah, they're the easiest part of it.
Okay, so you might leave Chelsea.
In
Missouri.
or me.
Yeah.
So.
It just depends who's driving.
Yeah.
And if it happens to be sunny in Missouri, just like, fuck it, leave me here. Pick me up on the way back.
And anybody that knows, like I think everybody knows, Chell calls the shots in our household. So if anybody gets left behind, it's going to be 2Ks over here.
Yeah, he'll be calling me like, "Yo, bro, made it to Indianapolis." That's about as far as she let me go.
I mean, I like to. Maybe if we were off the air right now, maybe I would talk like, "Oh yeah, Chell would be left behind," but she might be listening, so that's why I'm saying she calls the shots.
And you know what they say, happy wife, happy life.
That's right.
All right. Well, all that being said, guys, thank you again. We have reached that hour mark. And I honestly thought we would have talked more basketball, but it is what it is. And, yeah, episode 7 in the books. And, again, big shout out to Christian. Thanks for stopping by. I will be reaching out to some other folks. We're going to try to do probably have a guest probably once a month.
Mm-hmm.
You know, keep things fresh, keep things tight, keep you guys on your heels. So with that being said, thank you again. Hit us up on all the avenues that we talked about. And again, if you have any questions, drop us an email, shoot me a message on Facebook, stop by the house, just bring beer, and we'll see if we can get your topic on here. So with that being said, thank you guys, and Jim Rome, we're coming for you.